3 p.m., the November 15th, 2023 meeting of the Torch Lake Township Zoning Board of Appeals is now called to order. Would you all please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Who's present?
Yes.
Do the roll call vote.
Oh,
Not vote, do the roll call.
okay. So do you just want me to go through and see?
Yeah.
who's here? Okay. Laura Anderson,
Here.
Kristen Graves here, Chad,
Here.
David,
Here.
Rita, Kevin Woodward,
Here.
Jeff. Jeff is absent.
Okay. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. I have a couple of items that I think are missing, so I'd like to make a correction to it. Under H, miscellaneous business, following C, election of officers, we need D, report from the planning commission, and E, report from the zoning administrator. Does anybody else have corrections to the agenda or changes to it? No? Okay, hearing none, then I make the motion to approve the agenda with corrections.
Second.
And who was that?
Second.
Dave?
Yes.
Okay. I'll finish this. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And I meant to mention this before. If you would all, when you make a motion or second a motion, would you please raise your hand? I've found that we've had a lot of problems with the motions and seconds in the minutes. They don't know. I went through, I'm finding that they're very inconsistent with my notes, who I think made the motion and second. And so I went through the video to confirm, and you can't tell. You can't see anybody's face. You can't tell who's talking. So if you would all just, if you make the motion, raise your hand. At least that way from the video, we know who it is and we can confirm who those people are. Okay, thank you. All right, agenda item C is approval of the August 16th, 2023 minutes. And I'll start with my corrections, and then if you all have any in addition to that, you can bring them up. So under A, the meeting was called to order at 6:01 p.m. Under B, motion second to approve the agenda was Woodward Nussdorfer. Under B.
Oh, I see, okay.
You seconded the motion,
All right.
okay? Following down under C, FOF 35, that should be removed and it should be replaced with the last paragraph of FOF, no capital in the word to, in quotes, as in quote, ... to deny, end quote.
Good catch.
Okay. Also under C, the second, the motion and second should be Anderson Weincoop. And under K, the adjournment was at 7:48 p.m. And again, the motion and second was Nussdorfer Graves, and I rest my case.
Okay.
All right, do we have any other corrections to the minutes? Christine, did you have something?
I make I do not. I think you caught mine.
Okay. Then I'll make the motion to approve the August 16th, 2023 minutes with corrections. Can I have a second?
I second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Does anybody on the board have a conflict of interest tonight? Nope. Any public comment at this point? Rita?
Hello, Rita Service at 12110 Dragonfly Lane in Kuwaitan. Please move closer to the microphone. Sure. So on the zoning report, if we can ask the zoning administrator's office to please make sure that everything is legible for everyone, because underneath complaints and violations, half the stuff is cut off. So, I mean, if we can really get the ZA's office to proof the stuff before it gets sent out. The other thing is, I didn't know whether you wanted to wait till we go through the rules of procedures on the items that I had, or,
You know what, I'll call and ask if
Okay.
you have any comments at that point in time.
okay, that's it, thank you.
Okay. Kristen, did we have any communications?
We did not.
No. Okay, and since there are no cases tonight, we'll move straight on to agenda item H, miscellaneous business, and we'll start with the rules of procedure. You all, I think, have your copy that Sarah gave to us in our package with her comments or suggested edits redlined. Shall we just go through it page by page, and anybody who's got any questions or additional comments? So let's start with, I think in our notes, it's page 4 of 15.
Yep.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions or comments on this page? Yes? Yeah? Okay. Rita?
So in the preamble, if you look, the last sentence, it says reserved for Board of Trustees. Then you look at Article 1, Section 1, the last sentence, it talks about Township Board. So if you have inconsistent usage of the name, it's either Board of Trustees or the Town Board.
Is that the only place you found that in there?
I think, well, no. Because then it's, on another page, they just talk about board. I think somewhere later on, they talk about board.
Okay.
And then I'll just make the comment now, because it's consistent throughout this entire document. There's things that need to be capitalized. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them. Where chairperson needs to be capitalized. Vice chair needs to be capitalized. Secretary needs to be capitalized. And there's also an instance where they talk about chair. So it's either chair or chairperson. So it just needs to be consistent throughout the document.
Okay, thank you. And you'll give me a copy of those edits,
Yes.
right? Okay, so I think we're going to take this to Sarah with our recommended changes. So do we have a preference? Is there a reason to use Board of Trustees versus Township Board? Or should we just make it complete and say Township Board of Trustees?
Is there such a thing? Is there such a thing as Township Board of Trustees?
Read it. Do you know the official?
I didn't know there was a Board of Trustees.
So the Township Board of Trustees is made up of the supervisor, the treasurer, the clerk, and 2 elected trustees.
And they're called the trustees, okay,
So I would say,
all right. Well,
I would say township board, or if appropriate, township board of trustees.
isn't that still one and the same, the trustees? Who the township board? That would be the other members, not the chair, not the same people?
No, it'd be the township board.
Okay,
There's not, the trustees aren't a separate board.
no.
They're using the term interchangeably,
Yeah.
but to clarify for our purposes, we're trying to just pick one or the other.
Because as you can see,
Yeah,
you're already questioning if there's a difference.
yes.
On the website, everything is just referred to as the township board. I don't see trustees. I see Torch Lake Township Board.
That's what I always thought it was the board, and that's why I asked.
Well,
trustees.
there is a little
That's-
discrepancy, though. If you look on the website under elected officials, it has supervisor, treasurer, clerk, trustees. But then if you go down farther, it says boards, commissions, and departments, Board of Review, Day Park Advisory Committee, Zoning Board of Appeals, Torch Lake Township Board. So it
Okay,
would be
it's-
a little confusing if you say trustees, because then you're,
Assuming that there's, might be a difference. So let's, the end of the first paragraph, we'll change that to township board.
Yeah, I'd like that.
And then the other one would be as stands.
okay, can I interject one more time just to make sure we're clear? So as I click through it, it says Torch Lake Township trustees. The Torch Lake Township government is conducted by a township board consisting of 5 members. Those 5 members include the supervisor, clerk, treasurer, and 2 elected trustees. Each trustee's term lasts 4 years. So
I think
to
we're
clarify-
good with township board.
Okay, I just
Yes.
talked to the supervisor, and he said they're officially called the Board of Trustees.
Okay,
That combines it all together. There you go.
so
so-
what is in that preamble should be carried out throughout the whole thing?
Yep. So I think we should just use township board of trustees, use the whole thing then.
Yep.
Okay. So, FYI, I did go through a number of these, and for example, this paragraph 2 that she's got redlined, that's actually covered in the zoning ordinance 20.02 and 20.03A. So most of the stuff in here. If you have a question, whether it needs to be in there, I've looked through and can give you the reference. So feel free to ask about it if you disagree. Otherwise, I won't point out everyone that I've referenced. Okay, anything else on page 4 of 15?
I do not have anything.
Okay, then let's move on to page 5. And Sarah has nothing redlined on this page. I don't have any comments. Does anybody else read it? Come on up.
So on page 5, the revised item number 4, the last sentence says findings of fact is capitalized. Generally, when you have things capitalized in documents, it needs to be a defined term. And it's not defined anywhere in this document. The other thing in conflict of interest, A-1, it's grammatically incorrect. It's not concerning him or her. It should either be himself or herself.
Rita, your first correction, could you reread that for me, please?
In number 5, that's now number 4.
Yep,
And the last where it says findings of fact, do you see how it's capitalized?
I do, okay.
So
I
that's when it's in a document, it's usually references to something. So it
Yep.
should be a defined term then.
Okay,
So if that is defined in the Michigan zoning enablement, or if it's defined in the ordinance, then I think it can be used without definition here. So we'll research and see if it is defined in one of those places.
is that something that you'll ask Sarah, or do you want me to look in, or?
Either way, do
Okay.
you want to look at?
I just didn't know. I didn't want, I
No,
just
that'd
didn't
be-
want it to get dropped.
Okay, well, I'll probably take a look, and if I can find it,
Okay.
then I will ask Sarah.
Okay, that's fine. I'm
Okay.
happy to help if needed, but.
But
okay.
if you're motivated to look it up and you find something you can direct me to, that'd be great too.
Okay.
All right, anything else on this page? All right, let's move on to page 6. Yeah? Chad? No? Great, moving on to page 7. Rita?
I don't have anything on 7. So far, so good.
Okay, good. Page 8. Okay, I don't think I have anything. Rita?
So Article 5, 4, that's now 3, where it says the presence of 3 members shall constitute a quorum. Should that say regular members? It just goes back to that training where,
Yeah.
it was what we were talking about, where if, you can't have 2 alternates on the board or, sitting. I just don't remember the
I think it
context.
probably does, and that's based on what I've read in the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act.
Okay,
But I will confirm that.
okay.
Uh, Well, the presence of 3. So just for everybody's edification, I believe that, and we might want to define it here, that the concurring vote of 3 members, when you're making a decision, if you have 4 members, I believe in that case, the alternates counts. If you have 3 regular members, you have your quorum. If you've got a 4th member that is an alternate, and you get 2 regular members and the alternates vote, I think that still stands and is meeting the voting requirement. Okay. Page 9. That's what we just did, wasn't it? Yeah, page 8 was the regular members. Okay. Anything on page 9? Come on up.
So I didn't mention it before, but in underneath appeals, number 1, there should be a capital Z, capital O for zoning ordinance. Like I said, zoning administrator needs to be capitalized. And then in item E, it says established by small township, small board. So that needs, again, be consistent with what we said at the very beginning.
Mhm.
Okay, so that should be Township Board of Trustees. And I missed one of those. I got your zoning administrator in one. What was the other thing there? Oh, zoning ordinance. Okay. Anybody else?
No. That page, I'm good.
Okay. Page 10. Rita? Do you have anything on page 10?
Capitalization things.
Okay, you can give me those afterwards. Okay, I have one change under what would be down at the bottom. It was paragraph 5, now 3. The ZBA chairperson and/or secretary may require of the applicant. And I think we take out chairperson and/or secretary. When I was discussing this with Sarah, because the whole idea of being able to ask for additional information is very difficult when we don't get the information 2 months ahead, or 2 weeks ahead, when we're just getting it a few days ahead of the meeting. And her comment was that it was most probable that what would happen is if we wanted additional information, we would ask at the meeting, and then we'd have to delay the meeting to a later date. And in that case, the whole board can ask for additional information. Anybody on the board can ask for additional information. I don't think it needs to be the chairperson or secretary, and she agreed with that. So I'm just crossing off.
It doesn't need to go through the chairperson. So if I had a question, I just ask is.
Yeah, and
Go through.
and
All right.
if you wanted additional information,
And so then if any member on the board,
well, I think the board can agree that we want that information.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be me alone.
Okay.
So,
because I question that too, but I interpret it differently. I interpret it even if someone else on the board, any of us had wanted additional information, then we would discuss it, vote on it. But you, as the chairperson, or whoever is the chairperson at the time, would be the one who then asks for it versus
right, and that's,
it being
that's-
recorded as.
that's fine. One of the other problems, if you did want additional information beforehand, if you wanted information and you had to come to me or to Kristen, because we were the only ones who could ask for additional information, then we're almost kind of getting in a position of the open meetings, violation of the open
Right.
meetings. So you would, if you want additional information, you can go to Sarah or go to Jackie and request it from them. They will request the additional information. It will be given to all the board members. But we don't want to be talking.
Yeah,
So I think we just delete chairperson and/or secretary from that sentence, and we're good. Okay, does anybody have anything else on this page? Rita?
So just to follow up on your point, though, Laura, it's a really good point. But do you need to put in there that they need to go through the zoning administrator? So, somebody isn't reaching out to the applicant, that it's actually a standing rule?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that's that's really
Okay,
Open Meetings Act issue, and we don't
Okay.
want to start explaining the Open Meetings Act in our rules of procedure.
okay.
Okay. Moving on to page 11. Kristen?
I'm okay with this page.
Rita?
So in number 8, where it says immaterial incompetent, there's no such thing as incompetent evidence. There's an incompetent person, but, I mean, incompetent is defined as not having or showing necessary the skills to do something successfully. So that doesn't really apply to evidence.
Where are you again? Page 11.
Number
First sentence in
8.
black.
where it says the ZBA shall not be bound by strict rules of evidence.
Okay.
Then the only other change I have is in number 5, that was number 9, third line down, it talks about the chair versus chairperson. And the same issue with capitalizations throughout.
Okay. Anything else?
So are we changing the word incompetent? What are we going to do there?
Irrelevant, immaterial, undue,
Incompetent testimony? That's why.
pardon?
So
I think we just removed that word.
I would think immaterial would cover that as well as what they were intending.
Yeah. Or I suppose you could say unreliable.
because I think it's in, I wonder, I hate to just strike it out because I think there might be a time where someone might be giving a testimony that I'm not sure if just immaterial covers it. I don't know.
Well, that's why I said unreliable.
Irrelevant, immaterial, unreliable.
Did you find it?
No, not yet. Maybe Sarah's got a.
And I'm fine if we,
Incomprehensible.
That's a big word. Now, what, incomprehensible, what does that mean? What is, includes a whole lot of stuff. Doesn't it?
and I'm fine for the record if we just take it out. I guess I just question if it was a typo and maybe there's another word that really was supposed to be in there. I don't know.
Maybe Sarah's got another word, but I mean, incompetent is the person.
I can't hear you.
Sorry. I was gonna say, maybe Sarah has another word, but incompetent is a person.
Person, not the-
Describes it as an adjective for a person, not a thing.
Okay. So how about if I discuss that with Sarah and see?
And we-
She has a
And-
suggestion on
And
that.
if it's just to get striped, I'm fine with that.
All right, anything else on this page? Okay, let's move to page 12. Rita?
So in item 2, findings of fact should be capital F and F. And then in number 4, zoning ordinance should be capital Z and O.
I'm saying,
In number 2 should be findings of
Fact.
fact capitalized, and then in number 4, in the third line, it says violation of zoning ordinance should be capital Z and capital O. Because I assume you're talking about a specific zoning.
yes. You're talking about the Torch Lake Township zoning ordinance. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, moving on to page 13. All right, I had a suggestion that in amendments 1, that we just drop the last half of that. The rules of procedure may be amended at any regular or special meeting upon an affirmative vote of a majority of the total membership of the ZBA, period. This, I mean, I had to ask Sarah exactly what this meant or how we proceeded with this because this was rather difficult to understand. Provided the proposed amendment was approved at a regular, so if it's already been approved, you know, I was kind of like, okay, this doesn't make sense. I think, so to explain what I intend to do is that we will take these amendments, retype them, ask Sarah the couple of questions, and we will wait until our next meeting to actually approve them once we have a clean,
final draft.
a final draft,
Yeah.
right? But on the other hand, I'm thinking, so that would work under these rules, but on the other hand, if we want to change the time of the meeting, what, do we have to come back? And,
Yeah.
and address it all over again? That's a pretty simple change that I don't think we need 2 meetings to do. So we're just taking out the requirement that you have to have 2 meetings. That doesn't mean you can't use 2 meetings.
I think that's a good change.
And I also haven't asked Sarah about this, but I think that we might want to add a sentence somewhere in here that says something to the effect of, in the case where a rule, in the case where a regulation in the rules of procedure is in conflict with the zoning ordinance shall prevail. And the reason I would add that is because this whole thing was to try to get out the redundancies so that we wouldn't have conflicts, because you're addressing the issue in 2 places. You revise at one place, you forget to revise at the other. But to me, this is just a safeguard in case we do miss a revision. It's always the zoning ordinance that should prevail.
Can you read it one more time, please?
So I'm not sure this is the exact
No, I
wording,
know
but,
It's a rough working copy.
okay. In the case where a regulation in the rules of procedure is in conflict with the zoning ordinance shall prevail.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else on this page?
I
Rita?
cannot.
You're good? I'm good. Okay. And just a note, this guidelines for establishing substantial change related. That's not even in our zoning ordinance, so I'm not sure that we can even do that. So I'm pretty sure that's why it's been taken out. If the planning commission wants to put it in the zoning ordinance, they can, but it shouldn't be here as long as it's not in our zoning ordinance. Okay.
Good job. got
Are
through it.
we all done with that? Any other comments? Then I will take that to Sarah, and we will hopefully have a final draft at our next meeting, and everything will look good, and we'll move forward. Okay, moving on to, what do we have? Agenda item HB, meeting dates. Did everybody review? All happy with the third Wednesday and 6 o'clock time? Good, then I'll make the motion to accept the Zoning Board of Appeals 2024 regular meeting schedule as presented. Can I have a second?
I second. I didn't raise my hand.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And now the election of officers. So, any volunteers? No, I mean, do we have any nominations?
Can we just keep going with what we have?
I nominate Laura Anderson as our chairman.
I would second that.
Yep.
I also move that nominations be closed for the chair.
Okay.
I'll second that, I guess. Second things too.
Oh, let's not get this, this picky. Okay, we have a nomination for the chair. I would like to renominate Chad for vice chair if he's willing to serve.
As long as you're willing not to be absent, yes, I will.
I second that.
Okay. And I'd also like to renominate Kristen as secretary.
Second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a slate of candidates that we can just vote on the slate as soon as somebody puts forth the motion.
I'll make the motion. That, do it in. Can you just write the names down?
Yes,
And
so,
positions?
so Dave makes the motion to elect the following slate of officers for the 2024 term. Chairman Laura Anderson, Vice Chair Chad Impellizzeri, and Secretary Kristen Graves. Okay, and do I have a second?
I would second that.
And we should do a roll call, correct?
Yes, and would you
I
please do
will.
the roll call? vote?
Okay, Laura Anderson,
Yes.
Kristen Graves, yes. Chad I cannot say your last name and I apologize.
Then the meeting is being holded. Oh, no. Impellizzeri.
Impellizzeri,
Yes.
David Neusdorfer,
Yes.
Rita Service. I don't know,
Oh.
because we have her on our sign-in,
I-
no? Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin Woodward?
Yes.
The,
And
okay,
I was, sorry.
the motion passes 5-0.
Yep.
We have our 2024 officers.
Congratulations.
Thanks, I'm not sure about that part.
Hard fought election.
I wasn't
Right.
sure, but it's only who's sitting up here then.
It's,
Correct.
yeah,
Okay.
okay. So moving on to the report from the Planning Commission.
Madam Chair, we've been going over the zoning ordinances, and we have all but Chapter 14 completed. And that will get us through the first go-around to look through those. A meeting or so ago, they've kind of run together on me. We had a gentleman come, informational only, on a 42-unit, I believe, condo, boat storage type of development in Eastport, and no action was taken on that. And that's the highlights.
Okay. And, well, you all have the report from the zoning administrator, but since the zoning administrator isn't here, I'm not sure that I can answer the questions. Maybe just make notes if you have questions on it and send them to the zoning administrator. And once again, public comment. None. Just a big public smile.
Don't let us down.
Thank you for being here.
Okay. Item J, action items. The December 20th meeting has been canceled. We do not have a case, and I will be out of town. I'm not sure who, that's like, a couple days before the Christmas holiday. So the only item we have will be to review this. I think we can hold off, since we don't have a case. I think we can hold off till January and do the
Why not?
rules of procedure in January meeting.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that. And also, I'm not sure if you're all aware, but there was an amendment to Chapter 20 in the zoning ordinance that was passed in September. And it is not in our books yet. Sarah had intended to tonight, but she forgot to put them in the box, so we'd have them. So we will, I think she'll be emailing us when they're ready for us to pick up here. And I recommend that if you keep your own book at home, that you grab that and put it in your book.
And take the old one out. Like,
And
make sure your book is up to date.
Right. Does anybody else have anything that they want to bring up?
No.
No? All right, then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The meeting is adjourned, and it is 6:47 PM.